Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Bhagavad Gita class. Tonight we will do chapter 7, verse 22. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Paribrajakachaja Astotara Sata Shri Srimadesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Mathura Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 22. Sataya shradaya yuktas tasya radhanamihate labate cha tata kaman mayaiva vihitanitan. Sataya shradaya yuktas tasya radhanamihate labate cha tata kamam mayaiva vihitanitan. Sataya shradaya yuktas tasya radhanamihate labate cha tata kamam mayaiva vihitanitan. Sa he taya with that, shraddaya with faith, yukta endowed, tasya this, no his, aradhanam worship, ihate seeks, labhate obtains, cha and, tata from which, kaman desires, maya by me, eva alone, vihitan regulated, he for, tan those. Translation and purport of Srila Prabhupada. Endowed with such a faith, he seeks favors of a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But actually, in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The demigods cannot award benediction to their devotees without the permission of the Supreme Lord. The living entity may forget that everything is the property of the Supreme Lord, but the demigods do not forget. So the worship of demigods and the achievement of desired results are not due to the demigods, but to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by arrangement. The less intelligent living entity does not know this, and therefore he foolishly goes to the demigods for some benefit. But the pure devotee, when in need of something, prays only to the Supreme Lord. Asking for material benefit, however, is not a sign of a pure devotee. A living entity goes to the demigods usually because he is mad to fulfill his lust. This happens when something undue is desired by the living entity, and the Lord himself does not fulfill that desire. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that one who worships the Supreme Lord and at the same time desires material enjoyment is contradictory in his desires. Devotional service of the Supreme Lord and the worship of the demigods cannot be on the same platform, because worship of a demigod is material and devotional service to the Supreme Lord is completely spiritual. For the living entity who desires to return to Godhead, material desires are impediments. A pure devotee of the Lord is therefore not awarded the material benefits desired by less intelligent living entities who prefer to worship demigods of the material world rather than engage in devotional service of the Supreme Lord. Sataya shradaya yuktas tasya radhanam hiyate labate chatata kamam mayaiva vihitan itan. So this is a very important verse, one of Prabhupada's favorite verses, which he quoted again and again. It's a beautiful verse because in very simple language, it tells exactly what is the situation. That everything depends on Krishna. It doesn't matter who you go to, which powerful person, which powerful demigod. The permission to obtain anything and the permission to give anything has to come from the Supreme Lord. Maya eva vihitan hitan. That he certainly, Maya eva, it is coming from me. Vihitan, I am supplying this. So this is Krishna's statement. It's very simple. At the same time, it is very difficult to understand. It is simple to understand if you actually have faith in Krishna. So the purpose and the definition of spiritual life is not how many followers you have, how big a guru you are, how much knowledge you have, how much material facilities, how many temples you constructed. That is all by the way. The real criteria to establish the position of a devotee is the amount of faith he has in the Supreme Personality of God. And that faith is translated into accepting his control on a day-to-day basis. Therefore, a devotee, he doesn't allow his mind to wander over material goods and material facilities. He doesn't desire anything because he knows that whatever I need, Krishna will send. Just like a small child. He doesn't have to desire anything because his parents automatically take care of him. He doesn't have to ask his mother if she's going to cook him some lunch today. He doesn't have to ask his father whether he will help him to get engaged in education. He doesn't have to ask any of these things because they are done automatically by the love of the parents. And as the child grows and he sees how much love the parents exercise on his behalf, then he reciprocates this love. And this is called bhakti. And the key to reciprocate our relationship with God, the key to reciprocate with God for everything he provides us, is to control the mind. In the 6th chapter of the Gita, from which Prabhupada quotes extensively, because the 6th chapter deals with yoga, and yoga is very fashionable. Everybody thinks that to become spiritual advanced, you have to go to the forest and live under a tree, or go to the mountains, to the Himalayas, and live in a cave. But that is not the process. It is part of the process. It may have been the process thousands and thousands of years ago, when people had a very powerful mind and when the society, the environment was conducive for renunciation. Nowadays, there is no society in which we live which is conducive to detachment and self-realization. On the contrary, we live in a society which only values material enjoyment, only values the satisfaction of the senses. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he wrote a very beautiful poem, and he says that the material body, sharira, the sharir, the material body, it is avidya jal. It is simply a piece of ignorance. It doesn't work on its own. It is a machine. Without the living entity, the machine cannot move any more than a most fancy spacecraft or a 747 aeroplane. If there is no pilot, it will never move 1 centimeter from the hangar. In the same way, the body is a machine which cannot move. Ishvara sarva bhutanam riddesha junatishthati. The supreme driver is Krishna within the heart. Brahmayam sarva bhutani yantra rudani maya. And the living entity is going from body to body and traveling in these machines made of the material energy. So, Sharira avidya jal, the material body, it is a piece of ignorance. And Jada Indriya, the material senses, Tahekal, or our enemies. Why are the material senses our enemies? Jada Indriya means the out of control senses. The senses can be controlled by the mind and the intelligence, or the senses can control the mind and intelligence. Jada Indriya means when the senses are out of control. So Jada Indriya Taikal, they are the enemies. Why are they the enemies? Because the senses drag the living entity from his spiritual position to the material position. Jive Pele Bishaya Sagare. The material senses take the living entities and throw him into the ocean of material enjoyment. Bishaya Sagare. Sagare means into the water, into the ocean of Vishaya, of material enjoyment. Therefore, from morning until night, we are bombarded by advertisements, by advice, by example on how to enjoy the senses in millions and millions of ways. And among the senses, Bhaktivinoda says, the most powerful is the tongue. Tar madhye, in the middle of the senses, eyes, ears, nose, taste, touch, stomach, genitals, in the middle of these senses, the most powerful, tar madhye, in the middle of that, jiva, is the tongue. Ati sudurlava sudurmati. Lobamaya sudurmati. That the tongue, it is lobamaya. It is greedy, and it is sudurmati. It is our enemy. It is out of control. Sudurmati means, mati means mind, and durmati means the mind which is your enemy, the mind which takes you away from Krishna. So tarmadye jiva ati, lobomoya sudurmati. In the middle of the senses, the tongue is the most powerful, the most greedy, and the most dangerous. For those who want to become renounced in spiritual life, they must understand that the tongue, the stomach, and the genitals are working in a straight line. So the process of understanding our spiritual nature, the process of driving this machine of the material energy in a conducive way so we can get from point A to point B without becoming distracted, is to control the tongue. So Krishna Bora Doyamoy, Kori Baro Jiva Joy. But Krishna is Doyamoy. One of the qualities of Lord Krishna is that he is the essence of mercy. Doyamoy. Moy means energy, and Doya means mercy. Krishna's mercy, it is part of his nature. So Krishna Bora Doyamoy is greatly merciful. Kori Bare Jiva Joy. He has given us the process to control the tongue. Jiva Joy. Joy means to defeat the tongue. Sa prasad ana, dilo. He gave this prasad, or he gave us sanctified food, or he gave us the remnants of our interaction with him. Whatever we do, if we interact with Krishna, the result of that interaction is called Krishna prasad. So we need to eat. The tongue's main business is eating and talking. So when we want to eat, before we eat, we offer our food to Krishna. Therefore Krishna says, Patram pushpam palam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati. If you offer me with devotion, a leaf, a flower, and water, I will accept. Tadaham bhakti uparitam. That which has been offered with devotion, asnami, I will eat. Prayatat manaha. But one who is pure in motivation. So with simple purity, if we offer Krishna some fruit, some vegetables, some rice, some grains, and we eat that, that is called prasad. And that prasad teaches us to control the tongue. The tongue becomes satisfied. And then the second function of the tongue is to speak. So when we need to speak, let us speak about Krishna. Let us inquire about Krishna. From early in the morning, every living entity wakes up and simply inquires where is eating, where is enjoyment, where is sex life, where is material enjoyment. So the devotee is the opposite. He also wakes up early in the morning, but he doesn't ask for material enjoyment. He asks, how can I connect with Krishna? How can I see Krishna everywhere? The great benediction of one who is advanced in spiritual life, as I already said, it's not followers, money, temples, no. It is how much he is able to see Krishna everywhere. Therefore, in the 6th chapter, 30th verse, Krishna says, Ye mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam mam cha pashyati. The one who sees me everywhere and sees me within everything. Tasyaham na pranashyati. That person is never lost to me. Sachamena pranashyati. Nor is he ever lost by me. In other words, a real devotee, when he looks, he sees all the different forms. Stavara janama deke. Stavara means those living entities that cannot move, like trees and plants, mountains, that is called stavara. Stavara, jagama. Jagama means those that move, animals, human beings. Deke, na deke tar murti. An advanced devotee, he sees these moving and non-moving entities, but he doesn't exactly see their form. Sarvatra hoy, everywhere he sees, Ishta Deva Spurti. He sees his beloved Lord. He doesn't see, for example, when I go out on my back garden early in the morning and the sunlight is shining through the trees, it is a very beautiful sight because the light coming through the tree leaves, because now it is summertime, so the trees are in full bloom, and the light coming through the leaves become specular. It's like dancing. Photographer at my video Prabhu, my dear God brother, you can understand this when you see the specular highlights. When a devotee sees, when I see that, of course I see the beauty of the tree. I'm not that advanced, but I can put two and two together and I can say, Krishna, what a wonderful artist you are. Because without you, the sunshine wouldn't be possible. You created this. I cannot create anything. So the control of the mind is the most important process for advancing the spiritual life. Traditionally, the control of the mind was done by yoga. People went to the forest and became yogis. And it's just like today, if you want to become a sportsman, if you want to go to the Olympic Games, you need to control the mind so that you can control the body, so you can develop your body to become more and more expert, more and more powerful. But we are dealing with three bodies in this material universe, according to authorities and according to our own observation. The first body is the flesh and blood body that we have. That is called Jada Indriya, controlled by the material senses. Then there is a subtle body. Within this gross body, there is a subtle body, and that subtle body is constructed by the mind, the intelligence, and the ego. You cannot see it, but you know it's present. You cannot see my mind. I cannot see your mind. You cannot see my intelligence. I cannot see your intelligence, but we know it is there. And the ego, we know it is there. So there is a gross body and a subtle body on the material platform. And beyond that, on the spiritual platform, there is a spiritual body, which is covered by the material, subtle, and gross body. The process of understanding spiritual life is to reverse this process through the medium of the mind, which is the pivot. It is the pivot of the senses. The mind controls the senses. We borrow the intelligence from the higher source, or we borrow Krishna's intelligence, and with that intelligence, we are able to develop our understanding of our spiritual nature. So controlling the mind is most important. I was listening to a class that Prabhupada gave in Los Angeles in January 1969, where he explained a very beautiful song written by Govinda Das Thakur, Bhaja Unre Mana. And the Thakur, Govinda Das, he's talking to his mind, and he's written this beautiful song, and he's saying, my dear mind, Bhaja Unre Mana Sri Nanda Nandana. Please worship Lord Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj. Why? Abhaya Charanara Vrindahe. Because if you worship Krishna, you will become free from fear. We are all fearful. It is part of the four processes of life: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So defending means we are fearful. Why are we fearful? We are fearful because we don't know what's going to happen next, because we have no control. But if we know that Krishna is in control, then there is no fear. Just like a child, he has no fear. He may be walking in a dangerous place. He may be going to the swimming pool and come into danger of falling into the deep water, but he has no fear because he knows his father is behind him, protecting him. So, Abhaya Charanara Vrindahe. At the lotus feet of Krishna, we become free from fear. Durlava manava janama satsange. It is very difficult to get a human birth within this material universe. According to the Vedas, there is 8,400,000 types of bodies, beginning with the aquatics, to the insects, to the animals, to the birds, to the plants, trees, and to the human beings. 8,400,000. And we evolve through these 8,400,000 types of bodies until we come to the human form of life. So human form is not difficult, it's not easy to get. Durlabha manava, very difficult. Janama satsange. And when we get this human form, it is meant for satsanga. It is meant to inquire about the absolute truth. It is the only form, the human form, that gives us a possibility to actually understand who we are. And satsanga means we should associate, or we should create an association so that we together can understand what is the process of life. Just like materialists, they have the associations, they have their corporations, they have their goods that they want to sell to everybody. Because so the materialistic society, it is organized to enjoy material senses. So we need to have a society which is organized to understand the spiritual senses. With spiritual senses, we can understand Krishna. You cannot understand Krishna if you want to exploit him. You cannot approach the lotus feet of Krishna with a spiritual challenge. So, Durlabha manava janama satsange koro he bhava sindure. And why do we want to associate with people who are interested in satsang, who are interested in the truth? Because by finding out the truth of our spiritual nature, we can cross over the ocean of material life. Bhava sindure. We cross over the ocean of material enjoyment. We become free from attachment to this body. We accept whatever Krishna says, because as he says in this verse, Maya vihitan hitan. It is coming from me. It doesn't matter. You can go to some powerful politician, to some powerful industrialist, to some powerful Crow Party wealthy man, and he may give you something, but actually what you're getting, it is given by the permission of Krishna. That is the fact. So, to go back to the song, the material life is meant for understanding our spiritual identity. Durlava manava janama satsanga taro he bhava sindure sita atapa bata barishana edina jamini jagire. Material life, we have gone through so many births. We've gone through sita, cold, atapa, heat, cold of winter, heat of summer. Right now in India, for example, it is almost 50 degrees. It is so hot. Here in winter, it becomes freezing cold. Bata, sometimes there is howling wind. Barishana, too much rain, there is flooding. Edina jamini jagire. Day and night, I am challenged by this condition of material life. And I can do nothing about it because material nature is all powerful. Dina jamini jagire. Night and day, I'm struggling against material nature. Bipale sevinu kripaya dujana. And I serve people who are kripana, who are miserly. I have to go and beg for a job to get some small amount of money because people will pay you less to extract more from you. That is the nature of the material world. So, bipale sevinu, I am serving others, bipal, to get very, very little result. Kripana durjana, because in the material world, those who are interested in enjoying material life, they are interested in themselves first. To satisfy the material senses means to compete against everybody else for my pleasure at their expense. So Bipale Sevinu, Kripana Durjana. So everyone is a Kripana, is a miser. Most people in the material world, they make a big presentation of being generous, of being wise, of being helpful. No, that is just a show. The real nature is Kripana Durjana. Kripana means miserly, and Durjana means at the expense of anybody else. And the result of all this, the result of fighting against the disadvantages of material nature, fighting against people who exploit us, what is the result? Chapala sukha labha lagire. I get a little happiness, which is chapala. It is flickering. It is coming and going. Chapala sukha labha lagire. So, kamala jala dala jivana talamala. The poet, he continues by saying that your life, it is like a drop of water on a lotus leaf. You know, the lotus leaf, it is impermeable. The water doesn't soak inside. So if a drop of water is on the leaf, it stays as a drop. And as soon as the leaf moves in the wind or in the water, the drop of water slips off. So, kamala jaladala jivana talamala. So this drop of water, it is just like our life. Our life, it is like the drop of water on the lotus leaf. At any moment, we can die. Who has any guarantee that he will live even 1 hour from now, 1 minute from now? There is no guarantee. So kamala jaladala jivana talamala. Bhaja hunari pada nitire. Therefore, because you don't know when you're going to die, you don't know when this capacity, this facility of the human birth will end, better you worship Krishna and put yourself in his hand, just like a child puts himself in the hand of his father. And what is the process of achieving this position in relationship with Krishna? Shravana Kirtana Smarana Bhavana. Shravana Kirtana Smarana Pujana Sakijana Atmani Vedana Govinda Dasa Abhilasade. So this Govinda Das, he says, I have an eager desire to hear and chant and remember and glorify and worship and become surrendered to the Supreme Lord. This Govinda Das was a second generation devotee. There were two brothers, Govinda Das and Ramachandra Das. Govinda Das Kaviraj and Ramchandra Das Kaviraj. If you study the songs of Narottam Das Thakur, he says, Ramachandra Sangha Mage Narottam Das. That Narottam Das is anchoring for the association of Ramchandra. So this Ramchandra Kaviraj was the brother of Govinda. There were second generations. The first generation devotees were the Goswamis of Vrindavan, except Jiva Goswami. He was also second generation. But the 5 of the 6 Goswamis, Rup Sanatan, Raghunath Bhatta, Raghunath Das, and Gopal Bhatta, they were direct associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Vrindavan, and they were instructed directly by the Lord. And in Navadip, the associates of the Lord, like Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Prabhu, Shivananda Sen, Sachimata, they lived in Navadvip. And in Puri, there was Sarup Damodar, Ramananda Roy, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Haridas Thakur. So like this, these were the first generation, and the Narottam Das Thakur, Jiva Goswami, they were the second generation. So Govinda Das, when he was a young man, he wrote a song, Bhaja Un Remana, and he sent it to Vrindavan, to Jiva Goswami, who had become the leader of the Goswamis. Rupa and Sanatan had left. So Jiva Goswami liked the song so much, he wrote back and said, my dear boy, you have written a very beautiful, pure song glorifying Govinda. Please continue writing. And he got the title Kaviraj. Kaviraj means poet. So, let us control the mind. Mahaprabhu, Krishna advised Arjuna, to always remember me, you will see me everywhere, and then you will never be lost from me, and I will never be lost from you. Good, thank you very much. So we have many visitors here. I see Filippo, thank you for coming tonight. Atmavidya, Haribol Prabhu, Maitreya, all glory to Srila Prabhupada. Anna Maria is here. Tuan from Thailand. I think Tuan, she is now in Chiang Mai. And Rob Illings. Nice shloka in this context. Stavara Janagamadeke Nadeke Tarmurti. That is it. That's the quote. That's the verse that are quoted for Chaitanya Charitamrita. Rob is given the reference. Madhya Lila 8, 274. In my humble opinion, the best way to control the mind is to read Prabhupada's books. If you somehow, whenever you have time, take the Chaitanya Charitamrita, take the Srimad Bhagavatam, and simply read Prabhupada's instructions. And the more you read, the more you will be able to control the mind, because Prabhupada's instructions, as given in his books, are directly Krishna's instruction. Prabhupada was used by Krishna as his mouthpiece. Krishna spoke through Prabhupada to produce his beautiful books, his beautiful purpose. There is nothing like it in the whole planet. I'm a bookworm. I come from a long history of reading books, and there is nothing like Prabhupada's books anywhere on this planet. Good. If there is no questions, then we'll see you all on Friday evening. Thank you very much for participating. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.